And now we'll do hymn number 9, Come Away from Rush and Hurry. You may remain seated. Come away from rush and hurry to the stillness of God's peace. From our vain ambitions worry, come to Christ to find release. Come away from noise and clamor, life's demands and frenzied pain. Come to join the people gathered here to seek and find God's grace. In the pastures of God's goodness, we lie down to rest our soul. From the waters of God's mercy, we drink deeply and made whole. At the table of God's presence, all the saints are richly fed. With the oil of God's anointing, in the service we are led.
I'll be reading from Luke 10, 38 to 42, from the Common English Bible. It's entitled, Jesus Visits Martha and Mary. While Jesus and his disciples were traveling, Jesus entered a village where a woman named Martha welcomed him as a guest. She had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his message. By contrast, Martha was preoccupied with getting everything ready for the meal. So Martha came to him and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to prepare the table all by myself?" The Lord answered, "Martha, Martha, you are worried about and distracted of many things. One thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the better part. It won't be taken away from her." This passage may be a bit of a puzzle, perhaps, but I suspect Pastor Jonathan has a surprise interpretation for us. His sermon title is, "I Don't Think It Means What You Think It Means." But Pastor Jonathan is not here, as I said before. Dunge, please. Blessings to you.
Dear God, we thank you so much for blessing us with 2 pastors so that one is able to step in and deliver your word while life happens. Bless Ndunge and help us receive your message. Amen.
Thanks, Amy. Yes, life does happen. Good morning. Mbote. Life happens. I was not supposed to be standing this morning, but next Sunday. And last night, Pastor Jonathan texted in a staff group that his flight has been delayed from Pennsylvania coming back here, so he only flying this morning. Perhaps as we speak now, in the next 45 minutes, he may be landing at Indianapolis. So my first reaction was, well, you can't be in Lancaster and preach here unless we Zoom. But I suggest that you rest, and I will stand up there and tell the stories, whatever story comes to me tomorrow morning. Or the other option can be that you email me your message, and I will read it. And so he opted for the second one. He emailed me his message, his sermon for this morning, and I am going to read it for you. And I will not feel the temptation of adding anything there. I want to try and do justice to be that you hear the heart of Pastor Jonathan through my voice. Luke chapter 10, verse 38 to 42. Beyond good and evil. Mary and Martha. I don't think it means what you think it means. This is not your parents, Mary and Martha. I know this is a fairly mundane slice of life story, but I've noticed in the way we've traditionally told it that we decided our interpretation needed a bad guy. When and why did we collectively decide to throw Martha under the bus? Too long have we heard sermons pitting Martha against Mary, as if we only have room for one good female servant, and it's going to be Mary. Who knows how to sit and be quiet and not make a scene, as if we all have collective amnesia of what comes directly before this story of Jesus' visit with the sisters. I didn't know it either without looking it up. But if you have your Bible open, you can see that the Good Samaritan story happens right before this. I don't think that is accidental. Luke, as the storyteller, had a reason for juxtaposing these two stories. One about a man from another culture and religion who goes out of his way to serve someone in need. And the story of a Jewish woman and follower of Jesus serving him. Surely, the point of the Mary and Martha story can't be that service is wrong, or even that the service is apart from our love of God or less than contemplative spirituality. Surely the interpretation can't be that Mary has faith and Martha does not. From what we know of the whole story of Jesus in the book of Luke, I don't think that this story exists to teach us that a studious and ritually observant faith as opposed to an active and practical faith in Jesus' preferred path for us through life. Not with the Good Samaritan and the unhelpful priest and Levite lingering in the doorway to the last story. Surely, the main takeaway of this story can't be the overpreached, be a Mary, not a Martha sermon. After all, we need Marthas. We need people who get stuff done, people who are reliable and efficient and hardworking, people who show their love in real, tangible ways. We need someone to make dinner or clean the carpet or plow the driveway or plan the ministry or organize the office. reading this story to say that Jesus would rather have us all sit at his feet all day, too busy to actually make plans or bring those plans to fruition, let alone make a concrete difference in the world, strikes me as a blatant disregard for the setup to the Good Samaritan story, where the expert in Jewish law tells Jesus the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus commands him for his answer. Love God, love your neighbor, is the whole message of the Bible summed up. So why do we ignore that here? In this passage, why do we need to make Martha the epitome of works, righteousness, dead faith, and misplaced priorities? Martha, not less than Mary, is a follower of Jesus. She welcomes him. Hospitality is a major Near Eastern value. And Martha does the culturally right thing in welcoming Jesus. In fact, Luke's audience is supposed to sympathize with her and her frustration with Mary, who isn't around to do culturally appropriate hosting. So it's kind of ironic that we've swung the other way in our preaching. But also, there is a missing language piece here that helps us set up to like Mary instead of Martha. In the Common English Bible, as in many other translations, we read, "She had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his message." In the King James Version, we actually get a better picture of the Greek for once, where it reads, "And Martha had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word." Also implies more than one person is acting. Who is that person? I think it's Martha. Also implies that Mary and Martha are sitting at Jesus' feet. And if they're both sitting at Jesus' feet, then this is an ongoing past action, not a literal Mary sat at Jesus' feet and Martha drove herself crazy, making Lot cuss. It's under bracket. Make it Lot cuss in the kitchen. One thing I want to make a point that we are all reading this now. My computer was at home and I forgot it and went back to print this one. So bear with me as I continue. Where else have we heard that phrase, sitting at the feet of? That might help us understand it figuratively rather than literally. Paul said that he sat at the feet of his teacher Gamaliel in Acts 22, verse 3. Act is also written by the same author as Luke. Traditionally ascribed to the doctor Luke, who accompanied Paul on some of his journeys. Sitting at the feet of someone then could be an euphemism for being a student, a follower. Mary and Martha sit at the feet of Jesus as his student, just as Paul sat at the feet of Gamaliel. Yes, it's an evocative and intimate image to imagine Mary and Martha or Paul literally sitting at the feet of their teacher. But that specific posture was not required at all times in one training. And as Jesus' student, his disciples, they are being formed by teachings like the kings of the Gentile rule over their subject, and those in authority over them are called friends or people. But that's not the way it will be with you. Instead, the greatest among you must become like a person of lower status, and the leader like a servant. I am among you as one who serves. This is from Luke 22, verse 25 to 27. Jesus' words to his disciples at the Last Supper when they get into an argument over who is the greatest. The one who serves is the greatest. Clearly, Martha is not in the wrong for choosing to serve. How can we choose to interpret this passage differently then? I've outlined why it doesn't mean what we think it means. But if not that message, then what? First of all, and perhaps most importantly, can we hear Jesus? Martha, Martha, as an endearment rather than scolding. Can we hear him saying it with gentleness and good humor rather than judgment? Maybe she's talking a mile a minute, preoccupied with all the responsibilities weighing on her, and we should actually read it as Jesus saying, Martha, Martha, hey, wow, it's okay. It's going to be okay. How does that shift in tone alone? Not that Martha is a bad person. Not that Martha's priorities are seriously out of whack. Not that Jesus is scolding her, annoyed with her, or whining at her like Jan Brady. It's always Martha, Martha, Martha. But can we hear her coming in angry as a Hulk and Jesus saying calmly to her, easy, big guy, easy. I also wonder how it changes our interpretation of this story and give more value to Martha to read, serve as minister. They are the same word, diakonos, from which we get the English word deacon. But for some reason, Bible translators seem to translate diakonos as minister when we're talking about men, like in Acts 6, with Stephen and the other 6 Greek-speaking Jews chosen to minister to the Greek widows, have food, but they choose to translate it serve with women, as with Martha here. What if instead the passage read this way, as Mary Stromer Hanson has translated? As they were on their way, Jesus came to a village where a woman named Martha received him. She had a sister called Mary, who also was one who sat at the Lord's feet, always listening to his word. But Martha was constantly torn apart concerning much ministry. She suddenly approached him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister regularly leaves me to ministry alone? Tell her, therefore, that she may give me a hand. But the Lord answered her, saying, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and agitated concerning much, but only one thing is needed. For Mary has chosen good and will not be taken away from her. What if Martha isn't busy with cooking for Jesus and his disciples at all? What if she's running a soup kitchen or building and maintaining a house church? What if she's preaching and teaching in Bethany or preparing the way for Jesus in Jerusalem? What if we've been reading and picturing this story wrong the whole time? What if Martha isn't serving Jesus and 12 other men who show up randomly on her doorstep while her sister sits with them as the lone woman, bravely daring to study in a culture that doesn't value that? What if there is no cultural prohibition against women studying? There wasn't. It just wasn't common. What if Jesus has already empowered both Mary and Martha to be leaders in the church, and Mary and Martha are both studying from Jesus and serving him in their own ways? What if there is no social faux pas of Martha passive-aggressively calling out her sister in front of a room full of men? If you read even the Common English Bible closely, the only people mentioned as being involved in the encounter are Martha and Jesus. Mary is in the background, talked about but not speaking nor acting. The 12 disciples have no part in the story at all except to travel there with Jesus. What if it's just Jesus and Martha grabbing a cup of tea in the marketplace as they talk about the struggles of ministry and Martha's overwhelmedness? If this story speaks to you as Martha being flurried in the kitchen and you like a messy hostess who isn't afraid to publicly call her sister on the carpet, please hear that I'm not taking that away from you. This is just an interpretation that I'm offering in case it's helpful to understand this passage in a different way. Jana told me this week how she is encouraged by this story to take a rest, to stop doing all the things and focus on what's really important. And I think that is definitely in this passage. It encourages her to think that God wants her to take a break, to find rest and recharge in God's presence. Whatever that looks like for each of us. Pastor Ndunge and I were also talking this past week about what we do when those feelings of overwhelmedness comes over us. Going for a walk helps. It gets the brain working in new ways. Making new mind-body connections allows us to put the distraction on the back burner and approach them indirectly. Playing music or making art helps. It increases creativity, allows for emotional outlet, and also allows us to approach the problems indirectly from new direction. Maybe you have your own ways to rest and approach a problem indirectly. Cooking, gardening, playing with your kids or with a pet, reading a book, shooting some hoops, journaling, or just starting at nothing with a cup of coffee. Good things happen when we take a break, when we choose genuine rest for our busy lives. Even hard-working people need to rest. And that is fine. Takeaway for any of us this morning. But also, I want to make sure that we hear when we get like Martha, not if, but when we get busy and overwhelmed with life and all the good things we're trying to do, we can choose to make time to connect with God and each other. Rest can remind us why we're doing something, and that is okay to ask for help. It is okay to say, we are overwhelmed. Martha is not bad because she had an emotion, nor even that her emotions got so big that she couldn't manage them anymore. And while we tend to define her for all time based on this one time, it's even okay if this was a regular problem for her. It's understandable and quite common for all of us at times in our otherwise faithful lives to get overly focused on the details and miss the big picture. This story represents one moment in Martha's life. It doesn't have to categorize her for all time. Martha can be a faithful servant too, and still become overwhelmed, and still be valuable, a beloved child of God. I picked this story to preach on because I wanted to redeem Martha in our eyes a bit. And if I can redeem Martha in our eyes a bit, maybe we can practice giving ourselves and others around us grace too. I wanted to say that both Mary and Martha are disciples. Even if their roles in this story accurately categorize their general approaches to ministry, Martha more active in her faith, Mary more contemplative in her faith, that Jesus is not elevating the contemplative life over an active outworking of one's faith. Yes, we are human beings, not human doings. But also, loving God and neighbor in real life involves work. May Mary and Martha, going forward, hold hands in our interpretation and remind us of the value of both these women and their ministry for God. And may they inspire us to include both active and contemplative approaches to faith in our own faith walks and to value the works of others who balance those two ends of the spectrum differently than we do. God calls us to a contemplative faith that inspires and fuels our actions, and to an active faith that lives out our contemplation of God. May we all be like Mary and Martha. Amen.
If you would stand in body or spirit for our hymn of response, 527, Bless the Arms That Comfort. Bless the arms that comfort, strong to shoulder care, gentle in their healing, teaching through despair. Bless the hands that labor, Martha's daily deeds. Bless these precious ointment, balm for different needs. Bless the ears that listen, sharing joys and fears, laughing in our triumphs, weeping with our tears. Bless the eyes whose wisdom sees through pride's facade, cherishing our weakness with the heart of God. Bless the feet that follow, like Naomi's Ruth, constant friend through sorrow, speaking holy truth. Though our journeys lead us far in time and space, God anoints companions, ministers